I told myself I wasn't going to do another Pokemon Go related video because I've already made like 2 dozen of them. However, something that Niantic did as of late has ticked off a lot of the fan base, and rightfully so. And now, all of a sudden, people are signing petitions or gathering people together to form a boycott on the game. And one of my responses to that is, why didn't you do that sooner? Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Niantic has decided to up the price of the remote raid passes by nearly almost double. And they have their own reasons for doing so. Now, this has ticked off a lot of players because, well, obviously nobody wants to pay almost double for something that they've been getting for only, 100 coins each, and now it's like 195 each, which is rounded up to $2. Basically, it's 2. Now, let's take a look at this from both sides of the coin, shall we? Niantic's side, which I don't agree with almost 99% of the time, and the player-based side. No, sorry, I was looking at my imaginary notepad here. Here we go. Now, Niantic's reason for doing so is to get people to get outside and physically go to these places, have more social interaction, get more exercise, sort of thing. Now, the whole point of the game is to physically get out, go to various places, maybe have some friends along the way, and just have... Basically, it's one big whole community thing, which I understand that. That's one of the main reasons why I did play the game myself back in the day, was because I really did love the fact that you could... It's basically a video game that you take with you in the real world, so to speak. Like, these actual parks or these actual cities are the world in the game, which I find that to be a really cool concept. And hey, there were times that for special events that there were several friends of mine that we physically drove all the way to New York City, and that was a blast. So yeah, I kind of understand where Niantic's coming from with that argument. Now, the argument against the whole remote raid pass hike and limitation, because they limit it to 5 per day, is that some people aren't so lucky when it comes to being able to participate in these raids in person. I was very lucky that I had a bunch of cities I could go to, and a bunch of people who played. We gathered around and did everything in person. However, there are some people out there that don't have such luxury, and they're unable to go to such places. And to them, they have to drive like 45 minutes sometimes to even get to one gym, because they're in such a rural area that they literally cannot play the game unless the remote raid passes are there. I mean, technically you could, but with the lack of Pokestops and gyms, you are missing on a huge chunk of the game. So without doing that, you really can't get items, you really can't do raids. There's a big limitation as to what you can do in the game. So by having the remote raid passes, that is a bypass around that, so basically those who are unfortunate enough to live in said areas are still able to play the game in some regard. And there was another point that someone on the Discord group mentioned, is that they have a full-time job with children. So they don't really have a lot of time to physically go out to places, or are unable to do so because they're busy. And the remote raid passes are a great way just to do a couple raids right there and then when you have the free time, even at home. So it's not necessarily cheesing the game or bypassing certain things like Niantic wants to put it. It's not really cheating the system or participating in the game in an unintended way as it is to, like, give other players an equal opportunity. Yeah, there probably are some lazy people out there that'll just literally spend hundreds of dollars and sit on their ass and get a bunch of legendaries. You know that's going to happen. But I would have to say there's a large portion of players that use these passes because it's the only way they're able to do the raids. So, yeah, I can see where they're coming from and why people would be pissed. Basically, someone like me who could just literally do a raid right outside their house because we could see like 3 gyms from here. I got it. All right, so all I have to do is walk 2 steps and I can do such a thing. But why are other players who are unfortunate enough already to not have gyms around, why are they being punished and have to spend double the money, or double the coins, rather, on something that I can easily do? Like, remember, they can't even use the free raid passes because you can only do those in person. So even still, that they still had to pay some sort of money to get the said passes. So they can't even do the free raids even if they wanted to. So either way, they're spending money, but now you're going to double the price on top of that? Yeah, I can see why people would be pissed and would want to boycott the game, because this is kind of shady. Now, there is a possibility why Niantic is doing this, and this is just speculation, it is not confirmed, so take it with a grain of salt. But however, this theory makes sense. The reason why Niantic is limiting or nerfing the remote raid passes is because they make more money off of location data and using that data and selling it or getting sponsors or whatever, way more than any of those remote raid passes. And by people choosing to sit at home and not go to different places, they lose out on a lot of that location data. And they could possibly lose money that way. I remember reading about this in several different Discords and several different Reddit threads, and it makes perfect sense if this is true. Now, this is speculatory and it's not confirmed. However, it is confirmed that people's data is far more valuable than any amount of money. Because, well, I guess the data could lead into money if you think about it. So obviously, the more remote raids people are doing, and they're not getting out of their house, then yeah, the more money that Niantic loses. So to compensate from that, they're doubling the amount for the raid passes. I'm not entirely sure why they would nerf the amount they want to do, though, if they want to, like, make up the money for that. But either way, it is still incredibly scummy, and they're 100% not thinking about the consumers or the player base at all when making this change. They say they're trying to keep the game healthy, and this completely defeats the purpose of the game, whatever the reason is. But there are a couple of other things, too, where you can still do the incense. They're not as effective anymore when you don't walk around, but you can still do them, and you don't have to leave your house, so that's one thing. But here's another thing on top of that. If you're so gung-ho about people doing raids in person, why is remote gymming a thing? Where you can just tap on a button and then feed your Pokemon on the go wherever you want to, or whatever. If you're so gung-ho about the you gotta go places, why is that a thing? Shouldn't you just take that out and make sure that if people want to maintain those gyms for a set period of time, they have to go to those gyms in person? So why is that allowed, but then the whole remote raid passes thing is frowned upon? It's kind of a contradiction there if you think about it. Well, that, and personally, I want that feature gone so I can, Team Instinct could actually, hold gyms without having to battle it for 3 hours. That'd be nice. But jokes aside, what Niantic is doing is definitely anti-consumer 100% of the time. And don't even think about claiming any of those remote raid passes from the breakthroughs. You're not going to get any. It's not going to happen. And even still, it's one a week if you're lucky. But more often than not, you're just going to get Pokeballs from the weekly breakthroughs. It's not going to happen. Now, before I conclude this, there is one thing that I'm going to say, and it kind of irks me in a way, but obviously I'm not going to blame the players that much, is, why didn't you do this sort of thing sooner when Niantic was taking advantage of all of you? Did it take until now with doubling remote raid passes to finally wake up and see that this company legit does not care about its player base whatsoever? Look about all the different schemes or whatever that, hey, they've been doing over the years. Of all the videos I've made of this company over the years. That whole video we're talking about, oh, hey, the Mega Evolution update is great. But don't let it fool you, because stuff is about to follow where it's gonna bite you in the behind. And boy, has it so far. But no, people in the comments section telling me, just shut up and enjoy the Mega update. It's the best update ever. Just as long as you do that and ignore everything else, it's a perfect game. Is it perfect now, knowing that Niantic is basically screwing you right in front of your face and doesn't care? Niantic's been getting away with a lot of things over the past few years. Whether it's events that don't even work, the Regidrago raids were a complete joke, where they legit, the servers failed to function entirely, and those were in-person raids too. So anyone who legit froze their butt off around here doing those raids and didn't even catch one because the servers failed and it literally kicked them out. And to this day, that compensation has not even really happened. They gave like an extra set period of time for certain areas to catch one, and the other areas who still had server problems did their shit out of luck. If they didn't get one, they didn't get one. So again, why is anyone going to do in-person raids if your servers don't even work half the time? So they're going to drive all the way to a gym just to maybe not even get it, even if they play legitimately and do everything you want them to. For a company that makes billions of dollars on this game, you sure have a lot of flaws now. So yeah, Niantic's been getting away with a lot of things lately. From the questionable Rayquaza Shiny Raid weekend, to the Salazzle literally being $100 if you want to freaking get one, to the literal egg tiers that are not borderline not even legal, because they should, by having random chance in a game, they should have actual percentages and not just tier lists, because that literally doesn't show anything. If you look at actual lottery standards and even other gacha games, they have percentages all right there like they're supposed to by law, but somehow Niantic and Pokemon Company can get away with not having it. And all of those researches that basically feed off of FOMO, where everyone does the same thing. They say, I'm not going to get it, it's a ripoff, I'm not going to get it, it's a ripoff, and then they're like, shoot, I really need that Keldeo, fine, I'll just do it this one time. And then they feel scammed, and they're like, well, that was a waste of my money. Why did I bother even do it? Rinse and repeat. And no one ever learns their lesson. Until today, perhaps? Maybe this remote raid thing was the slap in the face that everyone needs? I sure hope so. Because if you truly want this game to get any better, you gotta not fight with your words. You gotta fight with your actions. Fight with your wallet. Show that you want this game to improve. Hidden word hurts in their finances. Uninstall the game, don't turn it on, or if you somehow do turn it on, turn off Adventure Sync so they do not get your location data regardless. Yes, basically Adventure Sync is tracking you wherever you move, even if you don't have the game on. That's where the location data comes in. But yeah, take the steps necessary to say, hey Niantic, we're sick of this crap. And we want this game to get better. Because there's a reason why I quit years ago. Because I noticed all the shady stuff they were doing. And when you have an open eye for that sort of thing, and you know the game is manipulating you into spending money every second of the way, it becomes unenjoyable. Free-to-play games obviously need to make money. But this is not the way to do it, Niantic. Think about your customer base. Because without them, you guys will be bankrupt. Do better.